In former two-term Dallas Mayor Ron Kirk. He was the first African-American ever elected to that office. He also served in the Obama administration as a U.S. trade ambassador. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Jake, it's good to be with you even under these very difficult circumstances.
Mr. Mayor, feeling anger and sorrow about the 5 police officers killed is obviously not mutually exclusive from feeling sorrow and anger about those individuals who may have been killed needlessly in confrontations with police. But this will be a delicate line for President Obama to walk tomorrow when he visits Dallas and addresses the community. What advice would you give the president about his remarks tomorrow?
Well, having been privileged to work with him, support him in 2008, the one thing that comforts me is every difficult sort of issue around race relations that he spoke to, whether it was in the aftermath of the controversy over Reverend Wright during the '08 campaign or after the horrific shooting at Mother Emanuel, he rises to the occasion. And so I don't worry about his ability to express an appropriate level of sympathy and appreciation for those who serve us on the front lines in local law enforcement, and sympathy for their families, but also be able to help the country understand the pain that many are feeling in the African American community over the same circumstance that you met. And what I've said, and I didn't say it, I heard Charles Blow say, and I think I heard the president, you know, the common thread there is the one thing all of us want, one thing both of these community wants, is when there is an encounter between the police and particularly young African American men of color, we just want it to end peaceably. And I think rallying around the notion it's not too much to ask in our country, and we know how to do good police work, and that's one thing I'm proud of. We've done that here in Dallas. We ought to be able to find a way, to strategy to accomplish that goal of everybody coming home safe.
Yesterday, I interviewed on State of the Union one of the most impressive public servants I've ever had the honor to interview, the Dallas police chief, David Brown, and he said he does not feel as though that the public, that public officials, local and national, and that the media, he doesn't feel any of those groups are supportive enough of police. What do you say to the chief?
Well, listen, the chief is not only someone with whom I've had the privilege to work with over the years. I know him personally. He is one of the most extraordinary public servants, and you've seen evidence of that by the manner in which he conducted himself here. But that's what a police chief is going to say, and they have to rally the public to a longer-term sensitivity to just how difficult it is to perform the duty that we want these men and women to do at the local level. And in many cases, these are really young police officers. So I'm not surprised he would say that, particularly in the aftermath of something as horrific as happened here in Dallas. But I also heard him in his press conference this afternoon applaud and thank our mayor, Mike Rollins, our city manager, former city managers, for their very steadfast and strong support of him. But this is a time for us to understand why the men and women who put on these uniforms are so special. But there will also be an opportunity for us to examine how we make sure that happens in a way that gives all of us the comfort that they're here to protect us. And that's a conversation we're going to have, and one this chief has had. And I have to tell you, Jake, as proud as we are of him, it wasn't 4 months ago you kind of had a rump caucus on our council that gave in to the whims of some of our police associations. They were trying to run this guy out of town, and principally because he has disciplined and fired officers who didn't meet the standards. So, I mean, this is a chance for us to all understand each of us is hurting in our own way. I don't think it's productive to try to define who's hurt is deeper than the others, but rally around our common goals to have peaceful communities.
I want to play for you some sound from somebody else very, very impressive from the Dallas community that the American people have met during this difficult time. This is a trauma surgeon, Dr. Brian Williams, who earlier today tried to save some of the officers shot and earlier today spoke about that. Take a listen.
I understand the anger and the frustration and distrust of law enforcement, but they are not the problem. The problem is the lack of open discussions about the impact of race relations in this country. This killing, it has to stop.
I don't know how well you could hear that sound, but the doctor was talking about, he's an African American, he understands distrust of police officers, but police officers are not the problem. We need to stop the killing, and we need to have open conversations about race in this country. Your reaction?
Well, we need to do both of those things. And let me tell you, as you noted in your opening, I was privileged to serve this city as mayor. There is no order of business more important for a mayor, for a manager, than a police chief, than to keep our citizens safe. But we also can't turn the other way when there are officers who don't meet those standards. And whether it's out of fear or whether it is out of their own perverse brand of justice, they cross that line and endanger their lives. We have to acknowledge that those people have to be dealt with in a way that gives the public the confidence that none of us is above the law. And there is a reason we've had all these protests we've had around the country, because there isn't that sense. But I would agree with both the doctor and both our police chief and our president. There is no acceptable response that involves taking action like this very troubled man did the other night. We simply have to lay down our arms and stop the violence. And I know some of my friends on the other side aren't going to like it, but we also have to listen to the police and give them what they want. There is not a police chief, a police department in the country that wants to have to try to govern in a way like we do, which we permit the open carry of weapons. That does not make their job easier. They don't want to go into a zone where they are outgunned because of high-powered weapons and this kind of weaponry. So we can't just pull out one piece of this thread. We need to have that conversation about what it takes to keep all of us safe.
All right, the former mayor of Dallas, Texas, Ron Kirk, thank you so much.